Welcome back to TMN Television. I'm here with members of Across the Aisle. Right here I have Foster Spicinger and also Corbin Keller. Thank you all so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
Pleasure to be here.
So you all have a radio show. It's a political radio show, and you guys kind of discuss topics and kind of bring them to the forefront on Truman's campus. So what kind of inspired you, or what led you to kind of do this?
Well, see, actually, originally we took over the show from some individuals that decided not to do it anymore. So Corbin and I have been kind of leading the show for the last semester or so. But it was mostly just to bring, two sides of an argument and give it light here in Truman.
To reach across the aisle, as we like to put it. Yeah, it's just a fun way to try and give a student's perspective on things. I mean, why listen to the paid experts talk about it when you can really listen to some amateur fellow students, though, talk about the important issues that relate to us.
So I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier, kind of the history behind the name. Did you want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, actually, so since the show is a political show, we have a Democrat, which I am, and then a Republican. So across the aisle,
Reaching across it, meet in the middle, hopefully not a yelling match.
Mm-hmm.
There's one joke, though, it was tossed out in one show that if we needed an alternative name, a can of worms would work, because we are always on the verge of opening one of those.
So what have been some of the most popular topics, or I guess most heated discussions that you guys have actually had on the show?
Oh, most heated.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, that's one.
And Hillary Clinton. Gary Johnson. But
Gary Johnson, not so much.
Not so much. It's kind of unanimous that he's not very not the sharpest tool in the shed. But candidates are a big one. Particularly, we try to look more at local as well, because we feel you get your fill of national news. We try to look at local. We covered amendments in the last show that took a little bit. Yeah.
A lot of the debate has also centered around like the Affordable Care Act and some of the more, I guess, controversial things going on in the nation. And then international too. We do talk about international news as well.
Okay, so as a Democrat and as a Republican, have you guys actually ended up persuading each other on certain topics, or has that come up at all?
Not really. I feel like Corbin and I are pretty, not argumentative about it, but there's not really any way on a lot of issues we can move each other.
Well, when I believe taxation is theft and he puts it up on some glorious pedestal, then it becomes hard to convince one another.
So I know previously you guys mentioned the third-party candidates, and some believe that they really don't have a chance to win in this election, but have you actually had any students come on who have actually been in favor of either of those candidates, Gary Johnson or Jill Stein?
On the show, I play the part as a libertarian to try and have an even more across the aisle kind of reaching in there. I'm kind of there as a balancing point. So I've been spouting the gospel of Gary Johnson. I've been known to do that from time to time. Haven't had anybody from the Green Party, unfortunately. No Jill Stein supporter. But Gary Johnson has been mentioned and quickly and abruptly shot down many times.
And Gary Johnson is the feature of a lot of jokes on our show.
Oh my.
Usually at Corbin's expense, too.
What is a joke?
So particularly with this election, it's kind of been a little bit different than past elections, kind of a lot of controversial topics that have come up. So how have you seen it impact college students, and specifically kind of even the content on your show?
Yeah, that's a good question. We talk about a lot of issues important to college students. So sometimes we take news stories from TMN, and then also move on to like state stuff that would then impact Truman State students.
I just feel like there's just for this election, there's just been an air of toxicity, whatever the word is. It's just, I think people are just want it to be over at this point. I remember last semester we were there for the chalkening, where it was just constant spam, and I think students have had enough of it. And there's like the air of, if we start an argument, it's going to be real brutal, so we try to skirt around doing that as well. Like on the show, we try to be as civil as possible and not divulge into personal attacks, but keep to the level-headed discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys kind of lean back from super controversial issues, or are you guys kind of open to bringing those up?
there aren't really a whole lot of issues we're hands off on, but
There's
the
a-
issues that I guess are quote unquote controversial that we talk about, we usually try to be level headed about it.
There's a short list of things we avoid, but we're pretty open to most anything.
So you guys mentioned that you guys have shows every Saturday from 5 to 6. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what has your most previous show? What is that content kind of serviced around?
Let's see, we talked heavily about the amendments here in the state of Missouri that we voted on today, if you voted. And then we also featured international news stories from, let's see, there was a Russia story.
There was Indonesia.
Indonesia.
And South Korea, the impeachment there. Nobel Peace Prize. It was most of the meat of the discussion, though, was the election, what's going to happen. We usually don't like urge people to vote for like a candidate other than like the usual one, but we did talk about the amendments and kind of the perspectives on those and
Our personal opinions on them.
Okay.
Yeah, we also, 538's election forecast is another thing we feature heavily on our show, and that's a usual of each show.
all our
So-
eggs are in this one basket of statistical analysis, but it's pretty reliable one.
So do you guys take topic ideas from students, or is all the content kind of based on the members?
Usually it comes from us. If there are any students out there that would like to throw some discussion our way, we're most certainly willing to talk about it. We do have a Twitter account that you can tweet to, or you can send us a message on Facebook.
We did post a Facebook post asking for people to suggest anything they would like to hear on the show. Usually it's just us selecting topics, and we sit down a little while before the show and we decide, what are we going to talk about, how in depth should we get into this, because you can make a huge issue on anything, but there's some things that are more important and relevant than others.
So we do have actually several political organizations on campus. Have you guys ever partnered with them in anything, or have they actually come on your show when you guys have talked about different topics and things like that?
Well, see, actually, I guess how this came about is that the college Republicans and the college Democrats came together and sort of created the show. So we're actually both pretty active members of our respected organizations.
Gotcha.
I know the Students for Democratic Society is probably the largest, kind of third party, quote unquote, on campus. We might look into having them on, someone from the show on there in the future. And there's the newest organization, Young Americans for Liberty, is starting up. So I believe they're just getting chartered this semester. So in the future they might be on as guest, and perhaps permanent member if we look into that. But it really came up as a way for the two largest political parties to try and have a civil discussion.
Right. And so as two members, this is a political radio show. Do any of you kind of want to go into politics in the future?
Oh, definitely, yes.
I thought it would be interesting. I think it'd be interesting. But looking at just the cost of running for any office and the just sheer effort into it, maybe I'll just be on the sidelines and look at other ways instead of running for public office.
What about you?
Ooh, I don't know. Public office seems like quite a lot to do, so I'll probably just do political work. That's my plan. Probably international work, though.
No Foster for president?
No, Foster for president.
Well, then
Foster the people would be a pretty good campaign slogan.
Oh no, I can't do that. I will throw out Keller 2032. I'll be 35 then, and I meet all the check marks I need to run for president. So if you want the write-in campaign of the century.
So how do you feel of what you've done so far with this radio show? How do you feel that's actually going to prepare you for when you leave college and actually help you get to where you want to go?
I think it's been a great way to be able to discuss issues with somebody on the other side of the aisle. A great way to be civil. It's mass communication, and I think that's a really valuable skill to have these days, to be able to work with mass communication. So I think being on the show and being part of it has been a real help to me personally.
Yeah, and I think it's really increased my, I guess, debate skills as well, and probably public speaking skills as well, too, for that matter.
When you're going up against me, you have to step up your game.
So based on your own political stances and your views, how are you expecting, or how would you like this evening to kind of come to an end? What are you looking for the results tonight?
Hillary Clinton elected as president-elect, of course. I'm with her.
I would like to see Republicans sweep state office. I don't want to see Hillary Clinton as president, and I'm not too large of a fan of Donald Trump either, but I do believe he will win. I do believe he will become president of the United States. And it comes down to just, those few key states, Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, Nevada. It's honestly a toss-up, I believe, for the moment.
Well, specifically for me, if Jason Kander can pull off an upset here in the state of Missouri, that would be a huge win for me personally.
So you mentioned that you are a Republican, however, you actually did not vote for Donald Trump. So would you mind just giving reasoning behind your stances and kind of your reasoning for the voting choices that you made?
Oh, I just personally didn't believe in the message Donald Trump was putting out. He believed in trying to bring back American production and trying to strengthen American foreign policy, which I can see the logic behind there. It's just I personally try to go for limited government, and to me personally, it sounded not like that was the focus, but rather trying to use government policy to create prosperity. And I just opted to vote for Gary Johnson. It also very much helped that Missouri will most likely go for Donald Trump, so that kind of frees up a vote, knowing that I really won't have much of an impact in this state at least.
So kind of bouncing off of that, I know students even here at Truman kind of have conflicting views and opinions about who they should be voting for. So how crucial is it to vote in this election? Do you think students should go out and vote? Or those who didn't, do you think that's probably not the best idea if they don't have candidates that they like? So what are your ideas on voting and the significance of it, specifically with this election?
Well, while this is probably the first presidential election most people here on campus are voting for, I think it's terribly crucial, especially for like the Affordable Care Act, for example. If you're under 26, you can still be on your parents' insurance.
Yeah.
And the opposite party, the Republican Party, isn't putting out any plans other than repeal the Affordable Care Act.
And replace, plan forthcoming. Even with the presidential election, this might be a shocker, but there are other offices to fill. And these other offices are decided by a popular vote in the state. So it's very important to come out and vote, particularly if even if you don't like a candidate for president, there's the governor, Senate, representatives up for stake. And right now it's, in particular, governor race and Senate race, it's really too close to call at the moment. So this could be a case where it could come down to just a margin of a few votes. And so if you might get frustrated with presidential politics, but the state and local level will have far more of a direct impact on our lives than the federal government will.
So based on your experience doing this radio show, and you guys said that you actually took it over from students who, I guess, didn't want to be involved anymore, who kind of graduated. So what would you say for students who would actually like to get involved?
Yeah, actually, we do have some positions coming up. I will be leaving next semester. I'm taking a study abroad semester, so my position will have to be filled, and I know Corbin is looking at doing, what is it again?
Oh, the Missouri Government Internship in Jefferson City. But hopefully I could still come down and do the show, because I very much like to do the show. Just a great way to get involved is to come out to the meetings of college Republicans, college Democrats. I know the college Republicans meet every Thursday at 6:30 in Magruder, and it's just a great way to start getting involved in there. Just come out to meetings, come out to college Dems, college Republicans, and that's kind of the first way to start. And you get to people your age, like-minded, and it's a great way to be politically active.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you all so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.